Hi everybody, welcome to the channel, and in today's video we're going to be tying the original Diawl Bach. So it probably harks back to the 60s or 70s and the Welsh invasion of Chew Valley Reservoir, and it's been attributed to a Mr. Evans from Cardiff. Now if you're Welsh you'd probably find that funny, because Evans is like Mr. Smith everywhere else. You know, it could be someone and nobody. But I personally associate the Diawl Bach with an angler called Ken Bowring from Cardiff, who was a Welsh International back in the 70s and the 80s. And I think he wrote an article on it in Trout Fisherman, maybe early 80s. So that's where I first saw it. But the popularity of the fly probably didn't arise until Russel Owen of Clywedog fame won the World Championships in Tasmania and Australia. So yeah, he came home from that international match as world champion, and his top fly was the Diawl Bach. So what you've got to appreciate is back in the 70s and 80s everybody just tied standard patterns because that's what was available. Nowadays we've got a myriad of holographic materials, fluorescent materials, lots and lots, but back then we were all very much traditionalists. So it's a very simple fly, and I guess when the fish have seen all the flashy, bright, in-your-face flies, this is when this pattern comes into its own, because it's nondescript. It may imitate a small shrimp, a buzzer pupa, a nymph of some sort, even a corixa. But, you know, it looks as if it would sit in a weed bed or in the mud on the bottom of a reservoir. Anyway, there's a bit of history. I may be wrong. Someone might want to correct me, drop something in the comments, and I'll respond. Always open to education, but that's what I've mentioned so far is my recollection. Look, so before we get on with the tie-in, I'll run through the dressing. Simple fact is that the hooks are 10s and 12s. The tie-in silk in the original it called for black. I like to tie it with brown. The tail whisks and the throat tackle is red game, and the body is nothing more than natural peacock curl. So let's get that changed out and we can crack on. So the hook we're going to be using today is a Camsan B175. Just put them in the hook, and brown in 8/0. So because we haven't got a lot to tie at the head, I'll start behind the eye and take close touching turns to a point just between the hook point and the barb, just about there. So take off the waist and we'll tie in some of these red game hackle fibers. So ideally length of the hook shank, I like them shorter. It's your fly, tie it how you want. So what I'll do is I'll just lock that in, and once again close touching turns. Back up the shank, tying down that waist, and when I get to a certain point what I'll do is I'll fold that waist back, and that will add a bit of profile to what I'm trying to achieve. So I'll just snip the remainder of the rubbish off, on the waste off anyway. So next thing we're going to tie in is 2 strands of peacock herl. I like my Diawl Bachs fairly slim, and all I've done is I've taken 2 strands. Ordinarily I'd only use 1 strand, but there's no ribbing on this fly, so I've taken 2 strands and I've trimmed the tips, and I'm going to tie them in by the tips now. So just underneath and continue tying down to where the tail is. There we go. Okay, now since there's no rib on this, if a trout's teeth hits this fly, the peacock herl is going to explode. So I'll just zoom out and you can perhaps see what I'm doing now. So all I do is I take my tie-in silk and I grab the peacock herl and I actually wrap the tie-in silk around the peacock herl. So this can be done on any peacock herl body fly, and effectively what I'm doing is I'm just using the tie-in silk to support. So I keep wrapping, so the tie-in silk supports the peacock herl, especially when you tie it in on the body. So effectively I've created a dubbing noodle of peacock herl, and then all I do is wind that peacock herl up, and if I run out I just tie in, wrap a little bit more until I get to the eye, and then unravel, he says. Yeah, unravel the peacock herl and tie in. Okay, you can see then, even though I let go of one of the herls, it didn't go very far, because actually I've supported the body with the tie-in silk, so it makes it a little bit more robust. So let's just get back in there now and zoom back in. There we go. Okay, so we're at the point now, nondescript tail, nondescript body, and it only leaves us to tie in the throat tackle, which once again is red game hackle fibres. So I don't like too many. I like it about the same length as the body, and I offer it up and then use a pinch and loop to get the hackle fibres to sit underneath the body and the whole length of the the whole length of the body. Sorry, I was a bit preoccupied there. So anyway, just trim off the waist and start to form our head. So before we're finishing this time, what I'll do is I'll just take some varnish and run that up and down the tie-in silk, and you can see it's started to bead there, but it won't be too long, and then it won't be too long before it's tied in. But when I whip finish, then all of that will spread effectively. So that gives us a little bit of security on the inner turns of tie-in silk, and then once I'm ready I can follow up with a little bit more. Okay, just take that round there. If it encroaches on the head, just use your fingernail to wipe any excess off. There you go, and you can see there. So all I'll do is use my fingernail, and if you've got a hackle that is now used or utilised to clear the eye of the hook of any varnish, just put the used hackle in and pull it through, and that'll leave you with a clear eye as well. So yeah, to recap then, I've given you a little bit of history on the fly as I know it. It may not strictly be true, but I'd welcome anybody that has any information on the original Diawl Bach to come forward, make a comment or advise. We've gone through the material, it's very simple, and I've shown you a technique to secure the peacock herl effectively, especially when there's no rib. So there you have it, a very famous fly, very effective in all its guises. And in future videos what I'll do is I'll share a number of variations that I use to some success. Look.